In the ancient assembly of Mythila, a young man stood up and disrupted the silence with a single, dangerous question. If a creator god made everything in the universe, who or what manufactured the human soul? Assuming a divine being assembled the soul forces us into a corner. It implies the core of who we are is just another manufactured object, put together at a specific point in time. Equating the soul to a manufactured product reduces the human essence to a commodity, defined by its production date rather than its nature. This ancient palm leaf manuscript records a strict rule of Vedic logic. Anything that has a beginning must inevitably have an end. If your soul was constructed at an exact moment, it is bound by time. That means it is entirely mortal, guaranteed to eventually break down and shatter into nothingness. Our deepest anxiety about completely ceasing to exist comes directly from this unchecked assumption that our consciousness actually had a starting line. Before we piece together where your sense of self actually comes from, drop your own theory on the soul's origin in the comments and tap the like and subscribe buttons to join the journey. Look at this sculpture of Lord Brahma. In the Puranic texts, he is designated as the primary architect of the universe, bringing reality into existence. Tracing the lineage back reveals a problem. This relief illustrates Brahma didn't exist independently, sprouting from a lotus growing from the navel of Lord Vishnu. Asking who created the creator traps us in a logical loop called infinite regress. You can keep stepping backward indefinitely, but you never actually arrive at an origin point. The Chandogya Upanishad cuts straight through this loop. Prior to time, there were no separate elements, no distinct entities, only pure, unbroken existence. Without a second separate entity available to act as a manufacturer, the soul could not possibly have been built. If everything is truly one continuous consciousness, it raises a glaring question. Why do we experience life strictly as isolated individuals? Ancient thinkers defined Maya as a persistent cognitive blind spot, a mental filter that causes us to systematically misinterpret the landscape of reality. Consider the Upanishadic metaphor. A man walks into a dark room and sees the silhouette of a coiled rope. His brain interprets it as a deadly snake. His adrenaline spikes. The snake is a fiction, but his panic is real. Our intense feeling of being a fragile, isolated I operates exactly the same way. It is a psychological reaction to incomplete information. Experiencing something intensely does not make the underlying illusion real. Vedic scholars solved this paradox with a specific visual. Imagine thousands of water-filled clay pots. A single sun shines above, reflected perfectly in every container. The human ego makes a critical error. It looks at the tiny reflection trembling in the water and assumes it is an independent, self-contained source of light. Our individuality is merely that temporary reflection. We are fragments of one eternal truth, misinterpreting ourselves as newly minted objects. Think of the philosophical parable of a wealthy king. He falls asleep in his palace and has an excruciatingly vivid dream where he is a starving beggar. Sage Ashtavaka pointed out a profound truth about this dilemma. When the king wakes up, the beggar vanishes, but when he sleeps, the king vanishes. Neither identity represents permanent reality. The only constant is the sakshi, the witness state. It is the underlying, quiet awareness, silently observing both the suffering in the dream and the comfort of the waking world, without taking on the traits of either. Watching human existence is like sitting in the audience of a play. The anxiety of the plot only grips you when you forget that you are watching actors on a stage. Spiritual liberation requires no physical escape. It is simply shifting your identity away from the character speaking the lines and back to the silent observer. Obsessing over exactly where the soul originated is like a man running frantically through the streets, desperately trying to find his house, entirely forgetting he is already sitting inside his own living room. Looking for an origin point treats the soul as a discrete item placed inside the universe, overlooking the fact that every observation we make happens within awareness itself. True spiritual awakening offers no new historical data about where we came from. It is the sudden recognition of an eternal presence that was quietly functioning the whole time. The soul was never manufactured. The desperate question of its origin point is an illusion designed to maintain the ego. Identifying with a single rising wave captures only a tiny fraction of your existence. The true self encompasses the entire unmoving depth of the ocean. Dropping the belief that we were created strips away the fear of final destruction, leaving behind only the realization of eternal existence.